Tonight, we delve into the heart of controversy and courage with Eli Steele, a filmmaker who refuses to let silence define him. Born into a world without sound, Eli shattered expectations by embracing the art of filmmaking. But it's not just his triumph over deafness that makes him a figure of inspiration. In his groundbreaking documentary, Killing America, Eli confronts the dilution of meritocracy, the rise of indoctrination, and the shadow of censorship looming over our schools. So the question is, are we witnessing the decay of educational integrity, or are we at the dawn of a new era of academic renaissance? My name is Jim Connor. Welcome to Game Changers Silicon Valley. Eli, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I really want to speak to you about your journey to become a filmmaker, but first we have to talk about how did you decide or come to the decision to make this film about killing America?
It really was October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. And what we saw after that was this rise of anti-Semitism in the high schools around the Bay Area. And so we wanted to make this documentary to sort of investigate why that was happening. Where was it coming from? Because, things don't come out of nowhere. So what were the forces that were at play? And so that was the sort of how Killing America came about.
But and I just have to ask you, the Hamas issue and the Israel issue was very public and, quite frankly, very violent in television. How did that lead you into looking into the school curriculums and what is being taught in schools?
With the openness of the anti-Semitism, the righteousness behind it, that these students felt the ability to voice their own opinion without regard to the fact that over 1,000 Israelis were dead, that at that time there were over hundreds of hostages. And normally you would expect some sort of empathy, some sort of, this is a very complex situation. But no, it was very righteousness. It was either or. Where did that come from? And so obviously, you have to be teaching the kid, the student, a certain way of thinking. To create that binary, that black and white binary. In the 80s, in the 90s, we didn't have that. When Bill Clinton was pushing the peace accord, it was very complex. We understood that. We understood there was violence on both sides. We understood that. But there was none of that here. It was just Israel is the oppressor, Hamas is the oppressed, the liberator, so they're justified. And so that's why we wanted to investigate that.
Yeah. So investigating the demonstrations that you saw by university students and sometimes high school students or general young people, you looked into where did this motivation come from?
Yes.
And where did this, if we could call it, indoctrination came from? And you found it was in the teaching. And is it in the teaching of history or ethnic studies or something else?
Well, originally, I was contacted by the parents in the Bay Area because they were concerned. They just found out almost, not them knew a little earlier, but generally they found out that the honors classes had been taken away, would be removed from the school over a period of about 8-9 years. So it created a gap between grade level classes and the AP classes. And so the question is, why would you do that? Why would you take away the ladders of opportunity? And so then on top of that, we had ethnic studies classes that were supposed to be sort of dispassionate. Just, hey, let's talk about the history, let's talk about all the history. But instead, this was more liberated ethnic study. And what I mean is we use the history, the past crimes of Western civilization to divide people into the oppressed and the oppressor. And so when you look at that, you take away academic excellence or the ability to sharpen your mind, it's critical thinking, where you take that away and you put ideologies sort of in place. It's not a surprise the kids will start dividing themselves into the oppressed or the oppressor. Well, actually, no kid ever wants to be the oppressor. But so that's why they become allies. So a white child would say, you know what, I'm going to become an ally to the oppressed. And so everybody's trying to move in that direction. And the Jews, because even though they are much more complex, they are sort of seen as white. and to the put into the oppressor box, which is kind of ironic because if you look at the history, 5,000 plus years, I mean, if you look at Wikipedia, they have to break it up by century, the amount of pogrom, the amount of attack on Jews throughout history. But in today's America, we wipe all that away. We put them on the side of slave owners, segregationists. It's a gross oversimplification of history.
So if I understand it right, then you have the ethnic studies or the classes in general saying all kids are in one of two groups, the oppressors or the oppressed. Who wants to be the oppressor, right? Nobody really wants to be it. So then, if I can say this, the white kids, Caucasians, maybe the Asians become the allies to the oppressed.
Exactly. You have to renounce your shichet.
You have to renounce your
shichet.
Oh, really?
Yes, because the more shichetful you are, the more of an oppressor you are. So that's why there's been attacks on the American principles, which is why the film is called Killing America. Because you're basically saying the American principles, merit, being on time, it's just having a dream, the pursuit of happiness, all of that is oppression.
Is the concept that we're going to take away the AP, the advanced classes, so there is no separation, if you will, among all kids of a certain grade and certain age. You just have everybody together. In my experience, what happens is the kids who want that are very resentful because they're being given a substandard education. And the slower kids who need to step it up don't have exposure to a higher level of education. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Menlo Atherton High School is the one that has had the most honor classes taken away, which is very telling because on one side of the high school, you have East Palo Alto. And the other side, you have Menlo Park, Atherton, very wealthy community. According, I think it was the New York Times, a graph, the students from East Palo Alto are 8 years behind the students from Menlo Atherton.
How many years?
8 years. 8 years.
8 years?
Yes. So the average of Menlo Atherton side is the 4 years ahead of the national average.
Oh, I see.
East Palo Alto is 4 years behind the national average.
I did see a graph at the East Palo Alto. They're at the bottom end of the performance scale, and the Menlo Athertons were at the high end of the performance scale.
Exactly.
And the midpoint was 4 years, either way.
Exactly. Okay. So that was an 8 year gap. And so the problem is we put the two groups together. It's just a significant gap. And significant gap. And so the question is, why are we doing that? Because, and part of the answer is we see it some sort of social justice, we see it some sort of equity, where we can put everybody together. And, but it does not solve the problem. And that's the problem with ideology. That's the problem with what's called DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. There is an ideology. And so everything becomes beholden to that ideology. And you wonder why this school over here in East Palo Alto, which we know can be rehabilitated, it can be brought up, but they're not doing it. And so that's the thing, that's always the biggest problem with ideology, is they always cause you to miss the problem.
What's your sense of why the East Palo Alto school is not being brought up to a higher level? Is there some internal problem there, do you think? I have no idea. I have to ask you.
The brutal truth is, I'm a parent. I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. When my ex-wife and I separated, I waited for 3 months to get an apartment in the best elementary school with the border in LAUSD. So as a parent, I'm responsible for my kids' education. And so I think the parent of East Palo Alto, as unfair as it may be, I know you may have to work 2 jobs. You live in a society that is very wealthy. It's very wealthy. So but at the same time, those are your kids. You do have to be responsible for them. So I think it starts with the parent. And I also think it starts also with the pushback, with asking the question, what is the school not doing? Why are we happy at the one school in East Palo Alto in middle school, the kids, something like 13% are performing at grade level with reading. In math, it was, I don't know, maybe 6% or something. But anyway, the numbers are just horrible. I would never send my kids there. And so that's, and I speak as somebody who is, my father is black. She came out of segregation 8 years before I was born. My mother, daughter of Holocaust survivors. So I know my parents were born in poverty, but they sacrificed everything. They moved from East San Jose to the Blossom Valley area, so I would be in a better school. And so that's what I live by. And so I'm not speaking, most people may think I'm white, but I'm not speaking in that. I'm saying you have to do what's best for your kid. And you have to look at the people who claim to be social justice warriors, who claim to be fighting for racial justice. Do they really have your best interest in mind? Because nothing's changing.
Yeah, nothing's changing. I agree. With all the money we've thrown at education and all the politician finger pointing and what have, yet the test scores are so low, and yet the students are not able to perform well in high school. There's something was missing in reading and math and maybe critical thinking in grade school, and it was never developed, and they were just promoted along, and now suddenly they're in high school and they're not engaged. And so they're just not going to have a very good economic outcome in their professions, in their life.
Absolutely. I was born with a disability. I was born profoundly deaf. So talk about having a huge disadvantage. But my school in San Jose, about 15 miles down the road, the superintendent, all my teachers, busted my butt. They expected the best out of me.
Did they?
Oh, yeah. My deafness was not allowed to be used as an excuse. So if you can't use my deafness as an excuse, why are we allowing people to use their skin color, which is not a handicap? It's not. Frederick Douglass learned how to read in slavery. If you could read in slavery, Nat Turner in slavery, we have public libraries everywhere.
So I got to ask you this, because you grew up with this hearing impairment. You had a hearing aid at that time, correct?
Yes.
Was this expectation that you step up and perform well, and that the fact you had a hearing impairment, not an excuse, not a reason that you were expected to perform? Was that universal?
No, my parents, it was non-universal, because I think the forces that we see today were prevalent back there. My parents were called abusive, were teaching me for pushing me onto the path of oralism, which is you learn how to speak and listen.
What was your opinion of that treatment?
I thank them every day.
I mean, you didn't resent it, I take it. No. You felt it was the right thing to do for you.
Yeah, it's just who I am. It's just really the fact that he moved anywhere. I would do the same thing for my own kids, because I think the point is we do live in America. And we live in the land of freedom. Things are not fair. People don't stay afraid anymore, which is life is unfair. But it's what you make of it. We're not all born equal. But the thing is, in the country, you can end up in a place better than where you started. And I did.
I admire you, because I've thought about making a film. When I looked into the actual what it takes to make a film, I go, ooh, that's a big step. That's, as you said, many of the films take 2 years to make. You did a documentary in 4 months.
The Kid in America, yeah. That's a shorter version. Yeah.
It's a 38-minute film. It's very dynamic. It's very insightful. But the effort to put it together, to record it, all that stuff, get the footage, it's huge. And I just don't think I have the bandwidth. But I do want to make a film, but I admire what you've done so much. So just for our audience's sake, a little bit, you went to high school. At 14, you went to a movie, and you decided you wanted to be a filmmaker at that event.
Because I had hearing aids, though. For the first, 13 years of my life, my parents would drag me to movies, a Woody Allen movie, and it's so boring. You just fall asleep because you couldn't understand the movie. But at the same time, for some reason, I love photography. My parents got me a camera when I was maybe like 8 years old, and people said, "Oh, you take good pictures." I thought, okay. And then I went to see my first foreign film downtown San Jose. I think it was called The Camera Tenement or something like that. And the name of the movie was My Life as a Dog. And it was the first time I could see the subtitle. And it was the first time I could see the words, the picture, put it together. and be one with the audience. And that was just so powerful for me. And I said, oh, that's what I want to do.
So the subtitles gave you the engagement with the film.
Exactly. That's the good form of equity because it's not something that's given. It's not something that is a lie. It's just here's some asset. Here's how you move. But when the bad form of equity is where you want the equal outcome. This was just to get me up to the level, and that's something that I think everybody in this country is for.
Yeah, I haven't thought about this. And I mean, I've been confused by what exactly is equity because everybody's confused by it. It's whatever someone wants it to be. But the fact that you're adding another level of engagement or service or engagement level, such as captions watching a film, that's a form of equity.
Absolutely, because it's sort of equity. I don't want to say on the bottom, but it's just equity of asset. But it doesn't cheat you of anything. It just gives you that ability to be on the same level.
So now you went to New York Film School, is that right?
Yes, I made a documentary when I was about 14. So I'm still doing the same thing when I was 14, and I got into NYU Film School. But I quickly transferred to Claremont Mechanic College. I wanted more of a literature background. I majored in literature. And I wanted more of a storytelling background, which I use that education every day.
And so then you got out of college, and then you started doing independent films. Did you get a job, or how did you work this into a career?
It's not a path I would recommend. I did work a lot in film crews, like independent, and then I got a job at Starbucks because I wanted something to be more steady, and I was just whitey, and I was able to make a feature film in 2004, and that did really well and won about 12 film festivals. But at the same time, the economy was changing so much because we moved from film to digital. And then I did a pilot for MTV. And I thought that would be my break. It came out really nice. There was some problems with it, but most pilots have problems. They were workable issues and move on. But then the market collapsed. And we had the writer's strike, and so that changed everything. Everybody got fired. So the people that were my champions at MTV were gone. And that's sort of when I went back to graduate school and moved over to documentary, which was my first love.
So you went to graduate school then?
Yes, in public policy at Pepperdine University. Yeah.
You live in Los Angeles now?
Yes,
correct?
I do.
Okay, great. Well, very good. Well, let's talk about the film because we want to give this film some publicity, frankly. And I saw it's a great film. And it took you, I forget, 4 months, you said, right? You shot it? And it was
4 or 5 months, yeah.
4 or 5, and it was motivated by the Hamas attack on Israel and the outcome of that. And then you saw all the different demonstrations and so on like that. What's the next step for the film? You're just introducing it at screenings. I went to your screening last night in Palo Alto. You're going to do different screenings around the country. Is that correct?
Yes. For some reason, this has been my most popular film. I think a lot of it is just the timing. I think parents all across the country, even in Canada, we had some interest from Toronto, or they're dealing with what's going on in the school. Why are some of the best schools in the country declining? Why is there such an attack on merit? And, parents, people are just saying we're not seeing the benefit of all the indoctrination. We're not seeing what's going on. And so how do we fight this? And the people that have been pushing this indoctrination have been very successful because if you oppose them, you start to get smeared in the public eye. So that's why I have great respect for people, especially Diana, who is in this film, because she had a practice in Palo Alto. She had kids in the school, but she's willing to speak up in spite of the price that she may pay, which could be being called racist or white supremacist, even though she's Jewish. It's just it's a powerful force to try to go against.
I mean, this is probably, in my opinion, one of the most key questions. And I should have asked you this earlier. Where's the driving force? Is this a leftist ideology that's made its way into the educational system? Is this by school district, school board members who got elected because they wanted to pursue something along these lines?
Yeah, it's a complex question. We should talk about it.
Another show, right?
I'll give you the clip.
Give me the short version.
Yeah. So a lot of it. So basically, people have to understand that in America we have 4 centuries of oppression in one way or another. Out of that, in the 1960s, there was a group of people that basically that we need to embrace what's called the liberation ideology. And the liberation ideology is that the oppressed class must rise up against the oppressor. It started off as sort of as an academic kind of idea that we must take down the oppressor, we must upend the system. That's why you hear tear down the system. And so fast forward, this ideology has been there the whole time. And we started kind of leaving the lab. It started to go into colleges. I mean, it was always to colleges, but going into high school through what's called liberated ethnic study. And so that's what happened. And then what changed everything was Hamas attacking Israel, because it was the first time that idea became an action, an explicit action. Where I'll give you a quick story. So on the Tuesday after that Saturday, I went to Long Beach State to cover basically a pro-Hamas rally. And I say that because they were supporting Hamas. What was shocking to me at that point was when they started giving the speech, there was no moment of empathy, no moment of silence. They just went straight into Israel is the apartheid, Israel is genocidal, Israel is the oppressor. And so that was really eye-opening to see how this liberation ideology was used to justify the murder of over 1,000 people. And where did that go from here?
Well, very good. How can we support your movie?
The best way is just to, you can either join, I have a Substack. If you go to Man of Steel.
Man of Steel?
Yeah, and it'll be on, you should Google that on Substack. And the other one is manofsteelproduction.com. Everything, like Twitter, everything's on there.
It's Man of Steel, Steele.
Exactly.
Yeah, Man of Steel. And that's also your YouTube, Man of Steel Productions. That's your YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, that is, yeah. There's over about 20 short documentaries. A lot of them actually have to do with what we're talking about.
So I want to ask you at the very end here, what's your overall message to parents? Because those are the ones concerned, of course, and citizens about this movement that we've talked about. What should parents do? Should they go to school board meetings? Should they ask about the curriculum? Should they look at the high schools first? Should they look at the universities? What is your recommendation?
My recommendation at this point in America, because there's so much uncertainty, is to be the best advocate for your child. I mean, you got one child. I mean, this is your job. This is why you became a parent. I mean, why else do you have your children? Be responsible for your children. And when educators are telling you things, use your common sense, use your courage. Just ask questions. And then listen to the answers you get. If you're not happy with those answers, keep investigating. But you have to, if your school has an ideology in it, you must ask questions. And if you're not getting a direct answer, that's a very clear sign that your school is pushing a certain ideology. And then you have to decide if you're happy with that or not. But I would always say that one piece of advice that my own father, who has been in this field for such a long time, gives to everybody, and that is have courage. Have courage. Don't be afraid. Have courage, because that's the point of being American. And so the name of the film is Killing America. Well, how you counter that is you have courage, you embrace the responsibilities and the freedom that come with being American.
Well, Eli Steele, you've been delightful. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you. I enjoyed watching your film last night. I just think you've done a tremendous job, and you're a great example, a great leader of what can be done with a little bit of an impairment issue that you just put it aside. You just went on and said, not an issue. So I want to congratulate you on your success, and I want to wish you every success going forward.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for having me. It really means a lot.
Thanks for joining us in this episode. If you gained insights from this conversation, you can share this show with your network and ask them to subscribe. You can view all shows at our website, gamechangers.tv, as well as the podcast, Game Changers Silicon Valley. We look forward to your continued interest in upcoming shows.